Welcome to Echoes of Jade, where Chinese dramas come alive. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Subscribe and let the stories enchant you.
Episode 38. The prison cell was cold, but not as cold as betrayal. Zanghai sat in the shadows, his wrists chained, but his back still straight. A man beaten, yes, but never broken. The metallic echo of approaching boots interrupted the silence. It was Zhao Bingwen. Zhao Bingwen didn't mince words. "I'm sorry," he said, "but I have to kill you." "Nothing personal, just political," Zanghai scoffed. "Then at least do me the courtesy of not pretending this is mercy." "I'll leave you a whole corpse," Zhao Bingwen replied. "Well, that's thoughtful." Zanghai deadpanned. Hai Ming, watching from the sidelines, looked like he'd just watched his dog get kicked. He didn't have the power to stop Zhao Bingwen, but he had one last thing to offer, a final meal. And not just any meal. He cooked Zanghai's favorites, fire-braised duck, crispy tofu, and plum wine rice. A death row dinner worthy of a Michelin star, if Michelin rated prison cuisine. The food was delivered. Zanghai didn't hesitate. He cleaned the plates like a man who hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Which, to be fair, he hadn't. Moments later, Zhao Bingwen himself strolled into the dungeon, robes sweeping behind him like a villain in a drama whose way into his own entrance. "Time to go," he said. Execution by torture wasn't on the menu. But Zhao Bingwen had a flair for cruelty. They started with the usual routine, chains, whips, yelling, but then added something new, an ancient punishment called Tian Taiji Guan, translation, pain. Lots of it. Hai Ming watched from the shadows, his heart twisted with every scream. "Forgive me," he whispered. "Just hold on a bit longer." But Zanghai's body finally gave out. He collapsed. Silent, still, Zhao Bingwen leaned in, checked his breath. "Dead," he declared. "Leave the rest to Hai Ming." As Zhao Bingwen walked out, another twist entered the tale. An urgent summons from Prince Yongrong. Zhao Bingwen gritted his teeth. Timing really wasn't on his side. With the villain gone, Hai Ming made his move. He wasn't sure if this was heaven or a cheap hallucination. He saw them, his sister you knew, and his mother. A reunion he didn't think he'd ever get. He ran to them like a child, but his mother stopped him. "You don't belong here. Let me stay," Zanghai begged. "You have more to do." Before he could argue further, a voice pierced the void. "Get your butt back to the living," snapped Kwai Duo, his ghost mentor who sounded suspiciously like a life coach. "You're not done suffering yet," Yu Nu added, smiling through her tears. Everyone showed up for the goodbye party, past mentors, fellow disciples, even his grumpy sword master. It felt like a crossover episode between The Walking Dead and your trauma compilation Volume 3. And then, light. Zanghai gasped awake. Hai Ming and Guanfeng had worked fast, really fast. Turns out, the food wasn't just nostalgic. It was drugged with a sleep potion, enough to fool even Zhao Bingwen. Prince Yongrong's interruption bought them just enough time to fake Zanghai's death and revive him. Hai Ming was shaking with relief. Meanwhile, Zhao Bingwen wasn't done scheming. He imprisoned Prince Yongrong and sent his servant Shen Yong to deliver a final insult. "Even the emperor called your name before dying, thanks." But Zanghai now had a new mission. He had to stop Zhao Bingwen from raising his own private army in Dongsha. Next stop, road trip. Zanghai and Xiang Anta made plans to flee. Hai Ming, loyal to the end, arranged everything. A carriage got supplies, a smuggling route disguised as a plague evacuation. Zanghai and Xiang Anta posed as plague victims because nothing says suspicious, like to unconscious people wrapped in burlap sacks. At the city gate, the guards got nosy, too nosy. Hai Ming, ever the drama king, suddenly coughed up fake blood. "I've got the plague," he cried. The guards screamed and waved them through. Oscar-worthy, once outside the gates. Hai Ming handed over all his savings and smiled one last time. "Go. Be free." Zanghai nodded, but something gnawed at his gut. He found a letter tucked into the bag. It was Hai Ming's goodbye. Turns out, the tea Zhao Bingwen had offered him earlier was poisoned. Hai Ming knew it, and he drank it anyway to save Zanghai. Zanghai turned to run back, but it was too late. He saw Hai Ming collapse in the distance. Gone. Zanghai sank to his knees, screaming into the wind like a K-drama protagonist in the rain. But the mission wasn't over. The journey to Dongsha was brutal. Rain, mud, cold, internet reception. Non-existent. It was hell. But Xiang Antu was determined. She wanted to visit her newly crowned sister, Queen Mingyan Yinchu. Zanghai wasn't so sure. Sisters didn't always share power. Soon, they reached Yuran Mountain. Xiang Antu made a wish. Probably something like, "Don't let my sister arrest me." Oops, too late. Queen Mingyan had already received a letter from Daong warning her of Antu and Zanghai's arrival. She didn't welcome them with open arms, more like open handcuffs. Zanghai was tossed into prison. Again, this guy collects jail cells like Pokemon. Xiang Antu refused to eat. Queen Mingyan tried to bribe her with dresses, jewelry, and a royal wedding proposal. Her fiancé? The prince of the recently conquered Haidong tribe. Antu said no, and meant it. The queen, not impressed. She gave one final ultimatum: marry him, or I start removing Zanghai's fingers, one a day. And just like that, the horror game began. The blade fell once. Xiang Antu broke. "I'll do it," she whispered, but her heart had already shattered. Toba continued.